Good evening, John Augustine back again. Pope Pius X. He was a marvellous pope, and he made he knew what was going on. He come from humble enough background, and he had been, I think, the Archbishop or Cardinal in an important Milan or somewhere, an important bishopric. And anyways, he was elected pope. And he was good because he come from humble circles, so he knew what was required for to nourish the faith and keep it going. Now, children in them times making their first Holy Communion were often older before they could do it. And an event happened in County Cork or in Cork. A little girl called Little Nellie of Holy God. She was bedridden, God help her. And she was young, but she had great belief in God and great belief in that she nearly could see God or something, or see Jesus or whatever it was. So that's what she was called. And she was so holy, people were coming to see her and visit her, believe it or not. And the local priest was very impressed with her knowledge of the catechism and all this type of thing. She was ahead of her time, although she was bedridden. And she was only 4 or a little over it, 4.5. And the priest petitioned the bishop. That'd be the Bishop of Ross, I think, Cork and Ross or whatever, something like that. And he visited, I think, little Nettie. And he was impressed. So he gave permission for her to make her first Holy Communion. She wanted to make her first Holy Communion. And she did. And Pope Pius X got to hear of it. It must have been mentioned in dispatches. Suffice to say, he regarded it as a sign. And from then on, children from 7 years of age, when they were at the use of reason, 7 and maybe 8, depending on, you could be nearer 8, but it was 7. And could make the first Holy Communion. I was 7 when I made my first Holy Communion. Oh, very important day. Togged out and all. And the little girls was togged out as well. Oh, very nice. Yeah, it's a photograph. I meant to show it to you there one time. Yeah, they're nice to be out. You don't need to forget these things, don't you? I might hop over and get it, show it to you. And but he also did something else very good. Just to take it, I'll show you the first Holy Communion. I just hop over and get it. Now, hold on. Diddly-die-die-die. Back again. There's my father and mother when they were married. Oh, very she's sitting down, and I have a grandfather over in another place there, and the grandmother. And the grandfather is sitting down, and my grandmother's standing. So my mother is sitting down, my father is standing. So now, I just the first Holy Communion. It's so important, isn't it, Lord? Just a minute now, I get it. The reason we're talking about little Nellie and the fact that we got the business of funny how every time you're gawking at it, the next thing you go along and ipso facto it's disappeared. Oh yeah, here it is. Here's me when I made my first Holy Communion in Hoth. Talked out. Nice, isn't it? Yeah. And here's my sister when she made her first Holy Communion. Talked out nicely. Look at that. That's the way they'd be talked out, the little girls. And they're still talked out like that. And there's my brother Donald, Lord of Mercy. His sister's still alive. He made his first Holy Communion. Now, not the same time as me, a year or two after, but he has a little suit. Well, I didn't have a little suit. I thought I'd show it to you. So these are important events, and we were lucky that somebody had a photograph. And that's the beauty of it, isn't it? So now we're talking about Pope Pius X. And I think it was another pope that had rerum novarum for workers to get a fair wage and be respected. I don't think that was Pope Pius X, but he did try to deal with what he saw as a potential hazard in the Catholic Church. He felt it had been infiltrated by modernists. Now, Pope Pius X was, I think, in the early part of the 1900s. And they called the 1900s the 20th century. I always get confused about that. Because when they call something the 20th century, it's actually older. Anyways, he felt that this was a problem. And because he come from humble circumstances, he recognises these so-called experts. That what there might be experts about was not in the tradition of the Catholic faith. And I think we notice what's going on. Subsequently, Pope Benedict, which was very unusual for him to resign, but he tried to rectify the items because Vatican II was not meant to go down the road that it subsequently did. They were respecting everything the way it was and to sort of nourish the faith, but they were taking account of modern times. Well, that's about the worst thing you could do because they changed a lot of things, and I think others jumped on what they called a bandwagon and introduced things that weren't actually in Vatican II. And by making too many changes, you weaken the faith. And today, there's up to 80-90% not going to Holy Mass. And not just in this country, but in many countries. And their souls in grave danger of eternal damnation, because that's one of the important duties and the great gift of the Catholic faith, because it nourishes the soul. So Pope Pius X foresaw something like that. And I think it has come to pass because what they proposed didn't work. I think they proposed not quite the way it went. People had their own agenda. And people often do. As you go through life, you notice that in different places that you might be involved in working on, and you can see an agenda, can't you? So if the results of Vatican II was to be what it was supposed to be, it turned out to be a monumental failure. Because you expect people to practice their Catholic faith, but to make so many changes with taking out the altar rails, not enforcing the sacrament of confession, because people were in their hundreds in my time. On Saturdays and Mass and Sundays, plenty of priests, but now there's no vocations. If it wasn't for the priests from Africa and India and other countries, there'd be a lot of Masses not celebrated. And I think some diocese has made an arrangement with some dioceses in Nigeria to make sure that they would be having priests So it's not been a success because vocation to the priesthood and the religious life is important. But then they changed the clerical garb, or rather, they're not wearing it as much. Nuns and priests, which is a pity. The Franciscans and Dominicans have their habit, and the Poor Clare nuns and other nuns wear the habit still, but other ones are not wearing the habit. And so there's no vocations. So I think too many changes doesn't work, and they'd want to re-examine all what they did and see what was successful years ago and put back the altar rails and things like that. So I think Pope Pius X foresaw this. He probably could, the Holy Spirit or something. He might have had a vision and he saw what was ahead. So some people have that great gift, don't they? Yeah, kind of saints must have that gift. They can foresee. But the result has been catastrophic for the salvation of souls, because you're born and you're in the image and likeness of what's this? You're born in the image and likeness of God. You were you were you were you were planned, but those little ones that are not allowed to be born, the innocent, are killed by this awful abortion. So we Pope Pius X was foresaw a lot of problems, and this happens unfortunately. If the faith is strong in countries, you won't find them doing the things that they've done. You won't. So that's why I mentioned Pope Pius X. And no harm to study, and if you come across a book to read about what he had to say. But he made a great, the business of the First Holy Communion was very important. And little Nellie of Cork, that little angel gone to heaven, of course, she was the reason why that was brought in. So at least we did good, didn't we? Our little country did good worldwide for First Holy Communion for children at 7 years of age, when they used to reach the use of reason. They know right from wrong. Pretty the adults nowadays don't know right from wrong, especially in the government. Anyway, that's it. Pope Pius X. So that's very important. Study him. Bye now.